this is kind of on us too as women, like bring more women up. Black people, let's bring more Black people up. Because it's like, honestly, if I bring this device to a classroom, boys are going to be the first person to kind of run to it like, oh, how cool, that's a robot. But it's like when I have the box, like you said, with the Black character, there's a girl on it, like a little girl would look like, oh, that's a toy that I can play with. You know what I mean? So just making it familiar to them so that whenever they get these opportunities, it's not like a shy away, like, oh, I can't do that thing. Whatever you wanna do, you
All right, welcome back to the Computer Keys channel. I am Marquise, and today we're back with another episode of the My Tech Story interview series. Today I got Terysa with me. We met through Instagram technically, but actually somebody sent me like a reel or something with you, talking about the robot you created, and so that like once I saw that, I'm like, all right, I gotta reach out to her. So that was like how I reached out to the Connect and everything. But yeah, we've been trying to do this for like a month, maybe 2 months now. So yeah, I'm glad we finally. Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I'm glad we finally getting to do it. So yeah, I just wanted. I know you might not have too much time, so I just want to get into it. So the first thing is like just getting to know you a little bit. So I want to start with your name, age, location, hometown, race or ethnicity, some fun facts, and then like some interests outside of what you do. And you don't got to remember everything. I'll keep you on track.
End of day, I'm like, okay, let's see if I can get it out. But yeah, so my name is pronounced Terysa, and that's actually like part of my book too, because a lot of people mispronounce my name. I think that it's Terysa, but it's actually pronounced Terysa. My mom named me after one of her students, and I turned 40 last year. I live in Lafayette, Louisiana. I'm from a small town right outside of Lafayette called Sunset. It's a little rural town, but like very, very much a community. Everybody knows everybody. You can't get in trouble with somebody not telling your parents. So it's like, it's definitely one of those types of things. And I forgot the rest.
So you got majority of it. Your race or ethnicity.
Okay.
And then like some fun facts, and then interests outside of what you do outside of tech.
Okay. Yep. So I'm Black. I was born here in Louisiana. I've been here like 7 generations. So outside of, work and things like this, I would say I really enjoy, introducing kids to computer science. It's something that I feel like is newer for my community because, we're very like humble people. So it's like leaving outside of our area is not necessarily something that we do. So it's very important for us that leave to kind of come back and share things that we've learned out in the world. Yeah. So that's what I actually enjoy doing. Before my books and before the robot, just going into classrooms, reading stories, telling them about my career path. It's like something I did, and I also like very much enjoyed it. So
I love that. So I'm trying to decide like where I want to spend more time on, because usually I have like follow-up questions. Let me think. So you say you're from Louisiana, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Where you said it was like a small town. That's where you're from, but then you moved to Lafayette.
Yeah, which is the bigger city. That like we have a lot of little towns around the city, and Sunset is one of those. So Lafayette is it's probably like about an hour and a half away from Texas. We have a lot of like Houston influences and a lot of like New Orleans influences too, but we have like our own culture here.
Right, I like that. So you mentioned kind of going away and coming back and bringing that knowledge that you've had. Is that something that's a product of you being from such a small place?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's something that like my parents instilled in me, but I think it's an expectation that everybody has in our community. A lot of people, I can give you a little bit of my background too. So when I left home and was going to college, I was going to major in math. I did well in my math and sciences. I was going to come back and become a math teacher because both my parents are educators. My oldest sister is an educator. pretty much everybody on both sides of my family, that's the route that you take. You know, you go to college, you come back, right? And it was me going off to college, starting my major and finding out I had to take a computer science class. That was like my introduction to it. My middle sister was a computer science major, but in my head, like, she's a genius. Like, that's, you know what I mean? That's what she's supposed to do. But I was able to connect the dots and see how big of a major it was. And like at the time, MySpace, Black Planet, all that, you know, fun stuff I thought I was doing with my profile was actually HTML and like introductions to coding. And finding out that, oh, that could be a career path too. I found that out. I switched my major. I'm like, this is where I want to be. And I studied it more formally, learning more formal languages, C, C++, and things like that. But yeah, I think the expectation for any of us that kind of go out, we come back. Like, I think it's instilled in us to be kind of like educators and teachers a little bit. So it's all still that background that, you know, you kind of come back and teach. Like the Timbuktu approach that I used to do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, even though you didn't go back and necessarily become a teacher, you still teach. You know what I'm saying? Like, you still teach kids how to code and everything. So I think
like my sister, she's like, you're not a teacher, but you're always in the classroom.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's like you found that the combination of your newfound love in computer science and your original plan of, you know, being a teacher and everything. So
exactly.
That's cool. Exactly. So I think that'll bring us to the next question, which is, what do you do for how long? And if you feel comfortable, like a salary or a salary range, even if it's not like salary range now, maybe before when you were, you know, early in your career or something like that.
Yeah. I would say, so day-to-day, very technical role within Google Cloud, where I'm on the technical side of sales. So all the tools that our salespeople go out to sell Google Cloud products, our teams work on building those things. So in the weeds, day-to-day, you know, in the systems. And like, I feel that between that and also my book, my robot, and all my personal endeavors, I feel like I need that balance. Like, I feel like I'm a very creative person, but I also am an introvert, and I'm good in this room on my computer, limiting my interactions with people. Like the pandemic was no problem for me. This was, but it's also just an outlet of being creative and like other things that make me happy. So it's like, it's a balance, but it's a balance that I feel that I need. And so that's my role at Google. Don't feel comfortable sharing my salary.
Yeah, I haven't necessarily given mine. You know, I gave like a little range, or like I mentioned what I was making before. So if you want to just say like 6 figures or something like that, I think that that gives a general idea.
Yeah, definitely in 6 figures. I've been in my career for almost 20 years at this point, because as soon as I graduated, I interned and then I worked full time. But I would say the difference between my job at Google and prior experiences is things where it's like the money that you receive is a lot more than just your salary, which was a new thing to me. It's like, it's salary, it's your bonus based on your performance. And then it's also like how well the company is doing. So you're an owner in the company and you get equity from that too. So it's,
So how long have you been at Google?
I'm going into my 4th year.
4th year?
Yeah. So
at what point, I'm trying to think if I want to ask about the robot now, or, because I mean, the robot is how I saw you. I saw you on the Shaderoom, like a bunch of other places. So at what point did you make the robot? Let's just get it out the way now. Like, when did you make the robot? I guess when I edit this, I could probably maybe show like some pictures of the robot or something. I want people to know that what we're talking about. But essentially, it's a programmable robot that you can use to teach kids how logic works and like programming and everything. So
yes, exactly. And I thought we were live, so that's good to know too.
Oh no, we're not live. No.
All right. Okay. So I could share like some inspiration behind it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, when did it start? Like, when did you make it? And then like,
Okay. Alrighty, so I started out with creating a children's book series during the pandemic when I wasn't able to go into the classrooms as much anymore because everything was shut down. And it was during that time where I was interacting with a lot of parents and a lot of teachers, and they were like loving the book series. The kids were loving it. But there were also those kids that kind of stood out as someone who would be interested in learning more about computer science and coding. So I wanted to create something where I feel that they could touch and program and just truly understand it if that's something that they were interested in. So I went out on this mission to kind of find out what was out there already. And I came across this company in China that focuses on edutainment, which is education, but also entertainment. Whereas like kids are learning and not even realizing that they are. And after reaching out to them and working it out with them, they were able to give me the opportunity to kind of rebrand it based on my brand of my book series that I'm building. And so it was an existing product that I was able to just kind of customize in a way that would reach my audience. So in addition to like the coding robot having the buttons on the top, there's also like puzzle pieces that kids can build out a path. And once they place the robot on the path, it'll follow it, whether the instructions are correct or not. If it's incorrect, it'll give them some type of notification that, oh, I'm sorry, this is not necessarily correct. And if it is correct, it gives them some positive reinforcement. And then from there, there's also an app where you can further customize that me and my sister are working through right now.
Yeah, I ordered one for my niece and my nephew for Christmas. So I was playing with it with my nephew. He's still a little too young for it, but me and my niece were playing with it. And I think I was having more fun with it than her, but you know, I think, you know, as she gets older, she's gonna like really, you know, grasp how to use it and everything. But yeah, like just the concept in general, you having the book series and then, you know, thinking about a way that you can make this a little more tangible for kids, a little easier to grasp and learn. And then, you know, looking for that and finding that and taking that and combining that. I love that. I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
I love seeing your niece's expression too.
She was so happy.
Yeah, it was so cute. Yeah.
But yeah, so you started with the book 4 years ago, or I guess during the pandemic. That's when you originally
I started writing the book. I would say probably a little bit right before the pandemic, but I feel that the pandemic gave me the time to like really focus on like messaging and things like that. So I like to say I worked on it during the pandemic, but I released the first book in December of 2021.
Okay. So before that, like, what were you doing before that? Because that's around the time when you would have started at Google too, right? You said about 4 years. Yeah. So I guess what were you doing before that? And what went into the decision to start writing the book? Like, is that related to what you were doing before Google?
So I've been in software engineering industry since 2006 when I graduated. But prior to Google, I was working in a company called CGI, which is also a technical company. We work as consultants. So like different companies will reach out to us, as like similar to like Deloitte or any of those types of like consultancy type firms. So it was definitely one of those. The decision to join CGI was I lived in Arizona for 11 years, and I wanted to be closer to family, kind of give children the opportunity to grow up similar to where I grew up, where it's family around. You understand the importance of community and things like that, like where you don't necessarily feel like you're alone, you know? So that was the opportunity for that. And it was at the time my mom was saying that there was this new technology company coming into town and that I should look into it because they were like hiring 400 to 800 engineers, like over a certain amount of time. So like, and it was like, I was like one of the first ones on the account that I was on, but I think it was like over 800. Like they surpassed whatever that target was, because when I graduated college, there weren't a lot of technical companies. Actually, I don't think there were any. So the only way you were to get a job is if you had to leave, which is, you know, how I ended up in Arizona. Had never been there before. Definitely a culture shock. But I actually really liked it. but I didn't think it was conducive to raising a family for me at the
Right.
time. And I wanted to be back. I wanted to be back at home, the food, the family.
Yeah. So how long were you at I guess CGI?
At CGI, I wasn't there very long. I would say probably about 3 or 4 years too,
Okay.
before I
So
got the Google. So the interesting thing was whenever I left Arizona, I was trying to see like just where I could go. My husband is from California. I'm from Louisiana. We were trying to find a place where it was wherever
Yeah.
we could find a job to be closest to family. So at the time, it was like Google dream job. Let me apply there, and of course, I didn't get it. This was 2014, I think it was,
Okay.
and then I came back home, and then it was March of 2020, no, February of 2020, where a recruiter reached out to me on LinkedIn to see if I was still interested. I'm like, of course I'm still
Yeah,
interested.
right.
And I just went through the whole process. It was very foreign to me. It wasn't until I was like knee deep into interviewing where I found out like people pay big money to like prepare for these interviews and things like that. So I was like starting to get nervous, but everything worked out, and I've been there almost 4 years.
Yeah, I love that. So I guess last thing about like prior work, you mentioned being in Arizona, and that's where you kind of had to go for the opportunity. So while you were out there, were you at the same company the whole time?
So when I lived in Arizona, I worked for a company called Raytheon Missile Systems. So it's aerospace, aeronautical type engineering. And that's why I feel like I learned more formally, was able to use a lot of my experiences from college for my job. So it was that company that I interned at and then worked full time until 2000.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that's not the foundation. That's where I get my rocket science experience from, because I worked on a lot of technologies that are space related.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So you had that for a while, and then you moved back, and then you started Google. I'm assuming Google was remote when you started?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it wasn't supposed to be. There was, when I got hired in, the intention was for me to move to California, which we were planning to do. But then we know what happened in March.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was like, okay, the return to office date kept getting pushed and pushed. And then there was the opportunity to work full time remote. And I feel that with my intention to like introduce kids here to computer science, I took the leap and was like, okay, I want to stay here full time. And it gave me the opportunity to work in my dream company, but also do something that I'm very passionate about.
Gotcha. I like that. All right. All right. I know you're on a time crunch, so let me try to.
I think I'm good. I'll let you know. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you moved out there, you're working for a while. Okay. All right. I think that's my last question about that. So this next one is, what or who first got you interested in tech? You mentioned your big sister, I think.
Yep.
She was in computer science. So yeah, where did that interest come from?
So my older sister, well, my middle sister is also, she was a computer science major, also worked at the same company, Raytheon. And it was, I would say I was about 7 or 8 years old when like we didn't have computers in the house. Like I don't think anybody really did, but I know for sure, like none of my friends, it was just not a common thing to have computers in the house. But my mom, being a teacher, she was able to take her classroom computer home over the summer. And it was there where it was like my first introduction to it. She put it on the kitchen counter. Me and my sister was like trying to figure out like what plugs into what. That was back when it had a bunch of wires and stuff, like what plugs into what. But it was like, I think me being younger and just being like super inquisitive, I was like looking at a keyboard like, how does it know, like when I press this? Like a lot of that, because little sisters like, y'all, you back away, like I'm doing this. But it was like all those types of thoughts going on in my head. And when I would have time to get on it, just playing games and things like that. But it's also like it wasn't like no internet or anything at the time, but it's like just like figuring out how things work was like my very first introduction to computers.
Wow. it's this same I call it like this inquisitive spirit. It keeps coming up interview after interview. People say how it's like a combination of that early exposure.
Yeah.
So you having access to the computer to even be curious about it, and then that curiosity in you to, you could have been doing anything else, but you were intrigued by this thing. How does this work? How can I, make it do certain things? So it sounded like it started around there. And then you mentioned you took that computer science class, and I guess that kind of like really piqued your interest once you took that class.
I would say it was the introduction when I was younger. And then it was the wanting to have a pretty background on MySpace and like making sure music was right, like all that stuff. But it's like, and I remember that was also like summertime. So like when your mind is idle kind of thing. But it was just like, I remember like going to like different websites, finding out which HTML code do I need to put this picture here or to do this slideshow. So not realizing all that stuff like people do. So I would say introduction, like first time seeing a computer, then it was MySpace, Black Planet, and then it was college. Yeah.
Wow.
Very
I like that. I like how you kind of. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say that, like, still, but honestly, in my job now, where it's like we're working on a lot of stuff that hasn't been invented before. So you have to be kind of curious, even now. It's like not a spirit you want to die. Like, and when you're a kid. So that's what I kind of like to introduce with my book series and stuff like that.
Yeah, I love that. So it's kind of like full circle. You had that early experience where you're like, what is this thing? How does this thing work? And then now you're introducing kids to that. Man, I love that.
Same thing. Yeah.
I knew I was going to enjoy this interview. We barely halfway through, and I'm already like, yes. I'm tripping. Do you have any of the robots near you? Like,
I do. I could get one.
Yeah. If you
Ow! What's wrong?
This is the cutest little thing. So I do have
can
it.
we just do like a brief little detour? I just want to see it.
Oh, stop shaking! You make me dizzy.
So you program using the buttons on the top.
Yeah.
And
You
then
can program
set
it. Yeah. Go ahead.
And you can set it on the puzzle pieces. It'll follow that, or you could pre-program it using the app. We did it with the puzzle pieces, and I think I used the app a little bit too. And like just like pre-programming it with the buttons on the top, like telling it just go up twice, go over like that. I tried all the different modes. But yeah, it's just like that with the branding of the book. Just the box, seeing the black the black little kids on the box and everything. It's just like all of that together. I love that so much, and it's just different. You know what I'm saying? It's not like anything I've really seen, and it's something that I've been thinking about myself. Like, how can I get kids more interested? I know they're not going to sit there and watch these long form interviews, but stuff like that, or maybe going to the schools and finding different ways to make it interesting to them. Like one of my things I want to do is go back to my elementary school and talk to them. So I think outside of this, I'm definitely
they definitely eat it up too.
I want to try. I want to try to get busy with that and see how maybe we can collaborate more. Outside of this, and with the schools out in Philly, because that's where I'm at. So
Philadelphia. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's cool. I've never been there.
Yeah, I think the kids here would definitely benefit from this. I think that would be like if you could do some type of collaboration with the Philadelphia school district or something. That would be amazing, yo. But all right, we can talk about that.
Yeah, that's my goal too. Like to team up with the school districts, because it's like it's just me. I have a full-time job, I have family, all these things. But if I could team up with the school district, I think it would be an easy, scalable approach.
Yeah, I think honestly, between me and my dad, we got some good rapport with the people at my elementary school, and I think that would be a good place to start to just kind of get the feet wet in this district and everything. But we definitely gonna talk about that for sure. I'll be in touch about that.
Okay. Awesome.
All right. So next question is, was tech your original plan? You mentioned that teaching or more so like math was your original plan.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much time we got to spend on this one. And you mentioned that the pivot kind of came where you took that class, and that's when you realized you wanted to. So was your degree originally mathematics, and then you changed it to computer science?
Yeah, it was originally, I was going to do mathematics and then maybe get like education minor or something like that so
Mhm.
that I would be able to teach. And then because I started getting credits in math, I was able to have it as a minor instead. So computer science major with a math minor.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Oh,
Computer
okay.
science major, yeah, with a math minor, and
Yeah.
then I also got a Spanish minor and a computer security degree too.
Wow.
Yeah, but I don't only use the computer science one, so
Oh,
that's
okay.
that's it.
But it's like the flexibility in that, like I'm
Yeah.
sure like GovTech would be like a big one for that.
Hmm.
All those
Yeah.
degrees. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my friend, he does computer security. He loves that, but it's kind of boring to me, I think. Um, but all right, that brings us to your school stuff. So you finished with a computer science degree, but where did you go to school?
Mhm.
And the second part of this question is, what do you do to gain knowledge now? But let's start with like where you went to school and everything.
Okay. So I went to college at HBCU here in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Southern University. We're
Okay,
in the,
understood.
yeah. So Southern University, and fun fact is like when I talk about community and like family and how important that is to me, my parents met at Southern, so they both went there.
Oh, mhm.
My two older sisters went there, and all my cousins and aunts and uncles that I was telling you about before, all of them went there. So it's like
Mhm.
we're a very traditional family and things
Mhm.
like that. But yeah, Southern University, computer science grad. Um, and then how I continue education, I feel like I'm a lifelong learner. I enjoy learning things, but I feel like I'm the type of learner where it's like I need to learn it and be ready to put it in action right away. I'm not
Yeah,
like
me too.
the theoretical type learner, type person. That's just really not my style. But I did take I went through the Stanford Lead program where I feel that it gave me more expertise outside of computer science because
Mhm.
I know, well, you understand, like in order to move up and do things in organizations, being truly just technical, it only gets you so far. So I wanted to be able to talk the lingo and things like that with business folks. And I went through the Stanford Lead program and I found it to be instrumental in like things that I'm doing in my career now that I feel that I wouldn't normally be able to do. Like I said, I'm an introvert, so I really don't need to
Mhm.
talk to people to feel fulfilled, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but just being able to, like, some days I'm in meetings all day, so I'm not doing anything technical, and I
Mhm.
need to be able to do proposals and negotiate different things, whether it's ideas or how we do a next
If you
product.
do
So
not play with me, I'll go to bed.
so it's like being able to continuously learn, being able to like, also I feel that it's important to like push yourself.
Mhm.
And I feel that, just things like honestly like this. Like you would ask me last year at this time to be on your podcast, I would have made every excuse not to be on it. Like it's not my thing, but it's like
Mhm.
the more and more I get out speaking to students and honestly like teachers and stuff like that, a lot of us are truly introverted, but it's like if we only keep to ourselves, like it's so much knowledge you could share with other people that they're missing out on for you being like by yourself. So it's like I push myself, things that are uncomfortable and just do them and get it out the way.
Yeah, same. Me too. I'm definitely an extreme introvert. I'm the person where it's like, oh, the plans got canceled. All right, say no more. Like that's cool. I get to stay home. You don't got to tell me twice. But
Yes.
yeah, doing stuff like this, I found like this fulfillment through something I really didn't realize I was lacking, which is
Right.
just like being able to have these type of conversations with people
Right.
from similar backgrounds and stuff like that. And you mentioned something that I love. Oh yeah, so even as developers, there's going to be days where you're not really coding like that, and those
Yeah.
other skills would definitely come in handy, like documentation, and being able to use some of these other platforms, Jira and Bamboo, and like just all these other things, AWS, learning like the stuff outside of like the physical coding and everything. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So
Mhm.
for certain stuff, are you on YouTube? You mentioned LinkedIn. Like, are you on LinkedIn Learning? Like, where are you going to gain this knowledge?
Um, sometimes it's just like very specific to what I'm doing. Like if it's something I've never ever done before, I go out seeking, is there like some specialization certification that I could get into? I know a lot of people like shy away from certifications, but it's like for me, it's like that's the fastest way to learn and the fastest way to in turn do something about it. So I have done LinkedIn learning courses before. I felt that the curriculum for the Stanford executive education was like very holistic. There were courses on like using your power. That like honestly, that was my favorite one, where it kind of made me. I think this is why I'm here on your show, honestly. Like in a lot of things that have happened because of it, but it was like being able to understand that not everybody has the same path or the same power, but understanding what yours is and use it to do good things. So it's like, honestly, whenever I got placed into Target, interviewed by Forbes, it was all basically from that class, like things that like it showed me in myself. And I was like, okay, this is something that's here. And it was that class. They had like the neuroscience of leadership, like, and it makes me kind of look at leaders in a different way, whether they're good leaders or bad leaders. Like, how do they communicate? What is their body language like? When it's like a difficult, like say there's layoffs, how does that leader communicate those types of things? And it just like made me look at life a different way, similar to how it was when I first saw Qomputer. It was definitely one of those types of things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shoot, you got me wanting to. Man, I'm gonna have to look into something like that because, as you progress in your career and stuff, you look to take on those leadership positions and everything, and those certain skills, what they call them, like soft skills or something like that. Those are the ones that like you can learn, but it's easier if you can kind of push yourself into that uncomfortable space sometimes. Like speak up, be that person that's not afraid to speak up and let people know your opinion or advocate for yourself and stuff like that, or advocate for others. Being able to take that leadership position. That's something I've been working on for myself, but I never really thought to take like a course on it or something like that. So, I'm definitely going to take that. I'm doing that.
Yeah, they're really good. And even honestly, after taking that, like not only did I see like a change in myself and like my behavior, how I approach my work, but I think others saw it too. I ended up getting a promotion like within a few months after completing. Actually, I was still in the program. I hadn't even graduated yet. So it was like, it was definitely something special about it.
Wow. Yeah. I'm definitely going to look into that. I love stuff like that where it's just that constant learning and growth and bettering yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always something more to learn, whether it's tech or career development or anything like that. It's always a way to improve. I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let me see. So, all right, this is especially for you as someone with as many years of experience, and you mentioned how Arizona was a culture shock and stuff like that. So what has your experience been like as a Black woman in the tech field? You could probably start with college and then maybe work your way through like what was different about Arizona and then up to now.
Yeah. So I'll start probably even younger than that, like just growing up, like I said, community, but honestly it's Black and white. That's it. Probably very close to 50-50, but it's like families that, know each other, generations, honestly, because a lot of people in my area, they don't necessarily move. So it's like, generations of people, Black and white. So honestly, the first culture shock was going to Southern, and it was just like all Black people. That was, it was definitely a culture shock for me at first. But then like you see, like, how we always say like Black people are not a monolith. That was like my first time like seeing like so many vast different types of Black people, but all people that I felt that I could relate to. And it was like, and even just growing up and going to an HBCU, it's like excellence is expected there. So it's like, okay, everybody's smart. Like I had two different suite mates that were valedictorians of their high school. So it's like, I mean, it's just so many different types of people that are Black. It was like, that was a culture shock for me.
Yeah.
Especially like rural town is like, we're all kind of the same. Like we grow up the same, we do things the same, but there is like, it's so many different people. And it's like, like they said, like my eyes was wide open in college. So it's definitely a culture shock, but I felt that it was very instrumental of who I am and how I viewed the world. And it's like they said, it's like you have every day to be a minority. Like it felt good to be the majority. Like, all the time. Like my teachers were Black. Some of my computer science teachers were not American, but it's still like they still understood the culture. I think it was a great experience. Highly recommend. 100, 10 out of 10. Right. And then to go from that, finally getting comfortable in my own skin and, you know, everybody around me, then I go to Arizona.
Right.
and I would say in the first 2 weeks, the only Black person I saw was my sister. Like
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And when I tell you, I went to the mall. I went to a lot of places. Like I'm shopping for furniture. 2 weeks on the one Black person, and she's in the same house as me. And so
she don't kill. So outside of her, like
right. It's like I have to go in the mirror and look me a Black person. But so it was that. So it was like, so in that, it was another culture shock. But that was, you know, interning. But so when I moved there full time, I was more familiar with it. But I think it was just kind of like, just the kind of person I am, where it's like, okay, I'm different. So I'm just different. It's like, I don't really harp on those types of things. So I wouldn't say it necessarily bothered me. I feel that there were times where I feel like I could have been discriminated against. But at the time I was like 19 to 21 years old. So it's like, is it because I'm Black? Is it because I'm a woman? Is it because I'm young? You know, like it could have been anything, but I just chose not to focus on what that thing is. Like to me, that was their problem. Even as, you know, a young woman, that's how I felt. And I feel like that's how I approach things now. But I know not everybody does. So I'm trying to do my part to ensure that like everybody feels included, because it's like I said, I'm an introvert. So it's like when all the men go off to lunch and they don't invite me, that did not offend me at all. I didn't want to go anyway. So it's like it didn't offend me, but I know that could offend some people. You know what I mean? Yeah, just being more cognizant of what I do, even opportunities that I've had that I feel that most people that look like me wouldn't have. Do my best at it so that it opens the door for the next person. Always looking out for the next person and things like that. So it's just being more intentional about what I do and why I do it. That would be the only difference between the beginning of my career and now.
Gotcha. I like how you put that perspective of like sometimes you do feel isolated, but also there's times where like I don't mind that you leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? I like eating lunch by myself, you know, just being able to watch something on my phone or just, you know, just do my thing. So yeah, I can relate to that. Yeah. And so I guess like as you were, you know, I don't know how to say it, but just kind of doing certain things where I won't say like paving the way, but like just doing something so you can leave the door open for somebody else. Do you feel any extra pressure in those moments where you are maybe, let's say, the only Black person or the only Black woman or something like that, especially early on in your career? Yeah. Is there some pressure there?
Yeah, I honestly feel more pressure now than I felt at the beginning, because I don't think I had that lens. Yeah, I don't think I had that lens. I was just focused on, like, am I doing the right thing? You know, like in my actual job, like what do I need to do to keep my job? But it was honestly earlier in my career that did trigger a thought. But honestly, it was probably like year 5. Like I would say year 1 through 4. I don't know if I was just in a bubble or what, but it was like, I don't know. I was just focused on my job. But I would say year 5, I went through something where it's like a leadership rotation program, where it's like, if you're excelling in your job, you get the chance to kind of like test out like another field outside of software engineering and get like 6 months where you rotate and you do a different job, and then after 3 rotations, you choose if you want to stay with one of those or you go back to your home team. I ended up going back to my home team, but one of those rotations was very much like discriminatory, but I think it was like a lot of things outside of just skin color, age, and things like that. I think it was like social economic status and things like that, because it was like in a factory, right? So you have factory workers that are hourly, whereas like to me, like I'm used to hard workers. So a lot of hourly people are people that I'm drawn to talk to, because it's like, I don't know, it's just more familiar to me. But it's very much like I'm salary, you're hourly type of thing. So it was just like a lot of just weirdness in that situation. But it was one of the comments one of the bosses made to me where it was like, basically, I'm so glad you did great here. Maybe we'll try to get another Black woman or another Black person to try this job in the future. I was like, wow, I didn't know I had that pressure on me, but thank you for letting me know. And I feel that like I keep that comment in the back of my head a lot. I think that was
to you.
Like he said it as a compliment, I guess, but I don't know. It's definitely something that has stuck with me all these years. Like some people I feel may not say that out loud. Like, do other people think that way? Right. And it's like, well, I should be. They're like, so it gives me the extra pressure. Like, let me make sure I do a good job. It's like, or somebody annoys me or aggravates me. Let me not say what I'm really thinking, because it's like, what if this is that same type of person or he has that same type of thought? So that's where the pressure started, I would say.
Damn, that's kind of heavy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something similar. This sentiment of kind of being that representative, or what did I call it before? Like the I don't know, but basically like being that representative, and basically unconsciously, like you're there because this is something you want to do with your career. You're filling out these opportunities and seeing that, and to have this person think that he's giving you a compliment by telling you, "Oh, you're one of the good ones. Maybe we could get another good one in here." And like, what?
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
It's like mental pressure, I would say.
Yeah. Damn. So.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't expect that. All right, so you mentioned how does that play into what you're doing now, like with trying to get kids introduced and everything? Do you feel, I don't say like obligated, but like do you feel a sense of responsibility, I guess, knowing, like you mentioned, going back and teaching, leaving and coming back and teaching? Do you feel a sense of responsibility when it comes to that? Like I need to relay this to this next generation.
Absolutely. I think responsibility is the perfect way to put it. I don't necessarily feel obligated to do it, but I feel like that's the right thing to do. This is what I need to do to, one, not let any children experience like things like that anymore, but also to just kind of change the narrative around the whole thing, where it's like, now we have so many women or so many Black people that are in here that are doing great things, that it's not like, oh, this is the one person that can do that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's like, I'm like going to Southern, like I know lots of really brilliant people that could be doing a lot of this stuff, in situations that I've been in, but it's like they haven't been afforded the opportunity to. So how do we do that? And I feel that hopefully I could like I feel that it's kind of on us too. It's like, I feel that organizations are doing a lot more like diversity, equity, and inclusion, but I feel like this is kind of on us too, as women, like bring more women up. Black people, let's bring more Black people up. Because it's like, honestly, if I bring this device to a classroom, boys are going to be the first person to kind of run to it like, oh, how cool, that's a robot. But it's like, when I have the box, like you said, with the Black character, there's a girl on it, like a little girl would look like, oh, that's a toy that I can play with. You know what I mean? So just making it familiar to them, so that whenever they get these opportunities, it's not like a shy away, like, oh, I can't do that thing.
Damn. All right, hold on.
That's what I thought. I probably think too deep into things. But
no, not at all.
Yeah.
No, definitely not too deep. I think that these are the important conversations. This type of that mindset of, you know, let me introduce them. Just give them the opportunity, the option to do this, because half the time that they don't get into it is because they don't even know that this is something you can do.
Yeah.
So
Or they tell themselves that they can't do something, or
Right.
like they hear robots, and it's like, even me, like when I said like, oh, my sister is super smart, I can never do computer science. It's kind of that same thing where it's like, if a little girl sees this and it's like, oh, I can't do that, that's for boys, or something like that.
Right.
Like the little logo is blue. It's like simple as things like color. And like if all you need is color to get you to introduce it to someone, then I'm gonna add a bunch of color. Like
Right.
colors make me happy anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, just everything you're saying now, I kind of picked up from between your page and then your site, the branding, all of that. I just get that sense of like, this is, first of all, something you're passionate about. It's something that's important to you.
Yeah.
And then, you know, once I'm like, yeah, I got to get one of these. I just need to introduce it to, I don't have any kids right now, so let me introduce it to my niece. And yeah, like we said before, like just seeing her excited to use this thing, it was a different feeling. It's something that I know that, you know, would be fun, but like you said, what'd you call it? Edutainment?
Yeah, edutainment.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. But damn, you got
I wish I had as a little girl.
Right.
I would love to have it, like especially if I just saw the character and things like that. Because honestly, if I would have saw the robot as a kid, it probably would have been like, oh, that's a boy toy. Give me a Barbie. Like, and I think that's something else I want to say in this too, because I feel that when they talk about women in STEM, it's like anti-Barbie, anti-princess, all anti things, but it's like you're basically doing the same thing. So you're limiting these girls that like this stuff because you're saying, you know, you wouldn't do well in that. But it's like, hopefully by doing color and things like that, I loved Barbies growing up. I had all the castles, you know what I mean? But I also am in computer science now, and I'm doing well. And it's possible. Like, don't limit kids. Like, they're going to limit themselves at some point. You don't be the extra.
You don't gotta, don't put them in that box. Like, there's definitely a little girl out there that can take her love for Barbies and make a Barbie app, and, you know, find all the rarest Barbies or something. Like,
Exactly.
That's one thing I'm heavy on for myself, is like, don't put me in a box. You know, I'm a nerd, sure, but, you know, I got this other side to me too. Like, don't, you know, and I think that's important for people to know. And
Exactly.
you look at computer science or coding or anything like that, it's like, oh, that's corny, or that's, you know, that's something, black people don't do that and stuff like that. It's like, what you talking about? Like, don't you see us doing our thing? Like,
right. I'm a nerd, but you have no idea what's going on in these headphones.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Right. Yeah, I love that. All right. So you kind of got into this a little bit with your experience as a Black woman, but I want to get into like what adversity or obstacles you had to overcome. So whether that's including going to Arizona and kind of, you know, adjusting to that, or honestly, I didn't even really ask you how much thought went into changing your major from math to computer science. Like, was that something that took some time to think about? Like, that was quick. So, well, I guess that was an obstacle, but like, what obstacle or like adversities have you had to overcome?
Yeah, I feel like I talk a lot of positivity, but I would say the most are the obstacles that I have faced. I would say the ones that are the biggest have been self-inflicted, honestly. Like, the like biggest ones, what I can and can't do. Having my daughter was the biggest one, because I only work with men. I think it probably, I don't remember the year, but I feel like it was like year 10 or somewhere around there, where it was the first time I'd ever worked with a woman in a technical role. Of course, I had different, you know, admin assistants and, you know, even custodians that were women, but never like somebody that I worked with.
Right.
And I remember finding out I was pregnant and having to tell like my boss and, you know, things like that. Like it was, I think, like a mental heaviness on myself of like, let me wait and tell them. Like, and especially my first kid, I didn't start showing until like 7 or 8 months. So I'm like, I waited for so long, but then telling them, even honestly, the CEO at the time was a woman, and that was the only other woman, like, big at the company. And I remember being in, it was kind of like a lunch and learn with her, or like talking about her career. And she was like, actually, and her son and I interned together, but she mentioned that whenever she had her child, she was in a meeting and her water broke. And yeah, and so they took her out on a stretcher. She went and had the baby, and then she was back to work in so many, like a short amount of weeks. And I remember thinking, like, wow, like that is so amazing. Like I could possibly, and at the time I'm pregnant, and I'm like, so I was like, I could do that. So here I go, going to labor on Friday, have my daughter on Saturday. And instead of taking the whole 6 weeks, I went back at 5 weeks. Just be like, I'll be like, she rode just like, this, like now that I'm older, I was like, that was extreme. But I think we should be very careful in the narratives we paint to people that are super impressionable, because it's like, I had nobody to look up to. So it's like, she's the CEO, so she's the top, you know what I mean? And she had to beat all these men to get there. So she must be doing something right. But it's like, now that I'm older, it's like, it's no way that was right. So it's like things like that, where I find that, like, just trying to figure things out on my own, I'm an overthinker. A lot of times I feel like a lot of stuff was self-inflicted.
I could definitely relate to the self-inflicted thing, just like procrastinating and stuff like that. But
yeah,
damn, that's a different like, and this is why I love doing these things, and this is why I need more women on here, because I could talk to man after man. Nobody's gonna have that
perspective,
adversity, right?
Yeah.
Because that's different. That's something I would never. I could have as many people pregnant in the world. It don't matter. Like, I'm not going to be the one carrying a baby. So that's a different type of pressure, where you're the only woman there, which is pressure in itself. And then it's like, okay, I'm pregnant. Are they going to start looking at me differently because, oh, well, why is she getting paid this if she has to go on maternity leave and stuff like that? Like, just those type of things that I never would have to, never really would think about, which is crazy.
And even too, like the few women that we did have, usually the narrative is once you have the baby, you don't come back to work. So it was like a lot of like that's a woman thing though. Like at work, as soon as you have a baby, like you stay home with your baby until they go to, to kindergarten or whatever. So it's like, that was also the narrative of, I would assume, like the narrative of, do we promote her? Do we give her a salary increase? Because she's not going to be here in 6 months type of things.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That's like a major adversity. So when you first got back, what was that like? Like, did you feel like damn, I should have took that extra week, or like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think I was more focused on how it was perceived by everyone else. Like, hopefully they would be like, "Oh, she came back,"
like impressed.
And it's like, "Oh, she came back early. Like, she's really ready to, work hard." But it was the same old. I rushed myself back for no reason. It was nobody told me to do that. It was on me.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's one of those things you definitely learn as it's like you said, like your role model, I guess, or example at that moment would have been the CEO, and that's what she's saying she did. And being young and hungry in your career, I would imagine that type of pressure to bounce back. Even women in general, even if it's not career based, women have pressure to bounce back after a pregnancy. It's like, you just had a human come out of you. Like, you can
right.
You can relax a little bit. Like, you deserve it. But damn. So before we go to this next one, we talked about your experience being Black, but not really much. You got into a little bit of it, you being a woman. So how often have you been the only female developer on your team? Or like,
Yeah, majority of my career, I would say prior to Google, maybe a little while at CGI. I was in more of a management position, but I had two female developers that reported to me. And I definitely felt like a lot of responsibility for that. Definitely proud, but also just want to be like, do the correct thing, too. It's not like, but very proud of them. But I would say it's more common at Google. Like
Oh, that's good.
yeah, I work with women all the time now. So it's like to say it's just been almost 20 years that I've been in the industry, like so much has changed. But I feel like there's still so much farther that we could go.
Yeah.
As far as like diversity is concerned, whether it's by race or by gender. We still have work to do, but it's like it has definitely changed. But that's why I feel like it's kind of my responsibility to meet them halfway because the companies are doing their part.
All right, two more quick questions on this. So one thing about like male developers, or I guess men in general, is kind of like that prideful ego type of thing. So a lot of male developers that I've worked with are more like, I don't know, you critique their code, stuff like that. Like they take it a little personal sometimes. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know. I don't know. I guess maybe like that competition comes out. I don't know what it is. But being a manager, did you have any pushback or any, type of situations where you felt like your authority maybe wasn't respected because you are a woman?
I guess I just don't look at things that way. I'm sure it was like I don't want to like downplay it, but I'm sure it was. But it's like I can only focus on what I could focus on.
Right.
There have been times where I've only led men. I think other than that first time at CGI, that was the first time I'd ever led women. Like my entire career, that's what I've done. But in all fairness, I feel that my foundation is working with men. So I feel that the way I approach things in work is kind of like more in a masculine way. Like I get offended. Like, did you do this before you send it? Or, you know what I mean? Like, of course, I probably wouldn't talk the same way, but it's like, in full transparency, working with women is definitely different too. You know what I mean? Like it's a difference, but it's like, I feel it's a needed difference. But it's like you almost have to relearn how to talk to people because it's like some things that I would say in a meeting with men, I wouldn't necessarily say in a meeting with women. Right. Or it's like, like even like we're just emotional beings, but it's like I feel that I'm a mother here and I'm somebody else here. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the same person, and not a lot of people can compartmentalize. Yeah. And I feel that I can do that. Like I can be author and very cheery when I do my book. I could get down to business at work, and then I could, make dinner at home, and all in the same day. And it's, I'm used to it.
So I like that. Damn, I like the wearing different hats type of thing, where you don't let this thing kind of affect this thing, and vice versa. And I think that's how you kind of gotta move.
It's like you would waste a lot of time trying to figure out why somebody don't like you. Yeah. And I really don't have the time for that.
That somebody's gonna benefit from hearing that, because especially when it comes to the office stuff, office politics and all that, you can't be taking every little thing personal. Because that's gonna have you like ready to quit every day. Or whatever.
Yeah. Get your job done. Like focus on the work. Yeah. That's what I do.
Yeah. And then my last question about this is, you mentioned seeing the industry change, even though it has more to go. But like mentioned seeing it change. Do you feel like, so like now at Google, you're working with more women, right? Do you feel like that was a natural progression for the industry, or is that more so you working at a more progressive company where they just they have more diversity? Do you, I guess the other way to frame this is, if you had stayed at your company that you were in Arizona, do you see a similar trajectory where it would be more inclusive now, more diversity there? Or I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's interesting because I never thought of it that way before. But if I had to be totally honest, I feel like Google is just progressive. Okay. I feel that there has been changes in the industry. I'm sure it doesn't look the same way it did 20 years ago. I'm sure it's gotten better, but I don't think it's at the Google level yet. No.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious about that.
Yeah. That was a good question because I hadn't even thought of it that way before. Yeah.
All right, good. I like coming up with good questions. All right, so this is the last real question. So you have your book, you have the robot, you have your career, your 4 years at Google right now, your family. So where do you see yourself going 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? Within just anything you want to share, basically.
Yeah. Interesting. Honestly, I take it day by day. Just like honestly, like I'm. No, I don't know if I can say this or not. I hope I don't get like roasted for this, but it's like I'm not one of those people that create like goals. Like,
Okay.
like
You almost
five,
made me spit my water out. I'm sorry. All right, I'm listening.
like 5 and 10 year plans. That scares me. Like, what if I'm not here in 5 or 10 years? Like, I don't like to put things like way far down the line. If it's something I could do now. So it's like, honestly, every day I just want to be better than the day I was before. That sounds so cliche, but I truly mean that. Like, where it's like, what's your goal for 2024? Is to be better than I was in 2023. Like, I always wanted like, okay, if I did this awesome thing in 2023, how could I beat myself? Like, I'm also competitive. I grew up playing sports, so it's like, how do I beat myself? You know, and it's like, it's not like looking so far down the line, like what could I do today type of thing. But some of the things that I have on my horizon or in my head of things that I want to do and that I'm working on is to just further expand my brand. The children's book series, introducing kids. I'm working on an animated series that I hope to put on YouTube, but then hopefully I can get some sponsorships, maybe something else with it. I feel that it's a message that, kids will like. So trying to see, just as far as I could take that brand, watching my kids grow up, they're growing up too fast. Just like the family, making sure that my family unit stays intact, even with all these, all this other stuff going on, just making sure that, everybody is happy and healthy. That's a very simple.
Yeah. No, I like that. I'm definitely a planner, more on like the 1% better every day type of mindset, whether it's the gym or learning new stuff or, like you said, being better than you were last year. One of my biggest fears is just like that unfinished business type of feeling of, I left something on the table where I didn't give my best. You know what I'm saying? That's one of my biggest fears. So I relate to that. But also I'm definitely like 10 years, I want to do this. And but that's something I've been working on more, is like just being able to kind of take things as they come and enjoy these moments. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm sure there's times where you wished to be where you are now. Yeah. With where you are with your book and everything like that. So I think that's a good outlook, I would say, on life. And I'm gonna ask this next part, but I guess it probably don't really matter. But what does retirement look like for you? So I'm sure you're probably not really thinking too much about that, but also, given your story, I can't really see you just like sitting down somewhere and just
No.
You know what I'm saying, just chilling, like, I don't know, in Florida or something like that. So what does retirement look like for you?
That's a good question. Me and my sister was talking about this because we were talking about retiring early. Like both of my sisters, but my middle sister and I were just talking about retirement. I don't know what that would look like for me, but I do dabble in a few different things, like real estate. I probably would, I don't know, beef up that. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, honestly, like I'm kind of very much just like a go with the wind type of person, whatever that is. I just hope wherever I am that I'm healthy. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. But I mean, just based off our conversation and what I've seen from you so far, I know that you'll be doing great things regardless. All right, so this last thing, I've been like combining it. So what tips do you have? I'm sure you're gonna have some good stuff for like either people, maybe women, maybe Black women specifically, only women on the team, people that want to educate in some way, shape, or form. Like, what tips do you have for that person? And then like any like final words or anything you want to plug, like the website and everything like that, and I could like throw it up on the what's the name and everything. So yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
All right. My final tips for, women in technology or just anybody that's interested in it. I find that there is power in your voice, no matter what type of voice you have. Like I mentioned before, I consider myself to be an introvert. So me, talking to women about my career path isn't necessarily something I saw for myself, but I feel that there's power in every story. And I feel that if wherever you are in that story, whether you feel like you're failing or like I know there are a lot of layoffs going on, but just even sharing some tidbits about what it is and what happened in your story, it could inspire somebody. And I know it sounds probably cliche, but if you could use me as an example, I promise you it works.
Hold on, let me when I set these up, I always put like a little quote. There's power in every story.
That sounds good. I didn't realize I said that.
I like that.
There,
I think that goes to the writer in you, the author in you.
I guess, yeah, because I just finished writing a cute little story this weekend, so I'm on my writing tip this right now.
Right, I see. You got the quotes out.
I didn't realize I said
that was a great tip. Definitely share those stories, and that's like I said, this stuff, it just gives me so much fulfillment just hearing these. Like I get done these interviews and I just be hyped. I'm like, I mean, so many people that's just doing these great things. It's just so crazy. All right. So anything you want to plug? Your website, Instagram, anything like that?
And will you be able to type it out on the thing too?
Yeah, I'll put it at the top.
Okay. Yes, I'd like to share with you my website, www.terysasolvesit.com. And I'm on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and pretty soon YouTube at Terysa Solves It.
Okay. Very cool. That's all I got for today. I appreciate you taking this time. This is a great job. I knew this was going to be so good. I've been looking forward to this one for a while.
Yeah, honestly, me too. I keep rescheduling.
Good. No, we got it done. That's really all that matters. And I think this is going to be my season finale for like this first season. So it's going to be the perfect way to end it off and everything. Right. But yeah, again, like I appreciate you taking this time and everything. And
for sure.
Yeah, I look forward to collaborating. What'd you say?
I said thank you for having me. It was actually really.
Of course. Yeah, it was a no-brainer. But yeah, I look forward to like collaborating in the future. However we can and everything, like with the schools and all of that. I'll be in touch for sure.
Yeah, let me know.
All right, got you. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. I gotta do my little sign off. There's been another episode of My Tech Story. Y'all be safe. All right. Whatever you wanna do, I just believe. Put the time in and I promise you'll achieve all your goals and everything you ever dreamed. Do all you can, fulfill your prophecy.